So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. For those who don't know me, my name is Victoria Lipscomb. I am the Financial Literacy Coordinator here at SlugCents. SlugCents is the new financial literacy program on campus. We're within Student Business Services. So we provide workshops just like this one. We have online education. We also do free financial coaching. So all students are welcome to meet with me. I am a certified personal finance counselor and a certified educator in personal finance. So you can meet with me about any personal finance topic under the sun, anytime, completely free. You can meet with me in a limited amount of time. So I'm here to help. So this today is being put on by EOP PALs. So Yesenia is here. Yesenia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Yesenia. My pronouns are she, they. I'm an EOP peer advising leader. One of the roles that we play at EOP is to create workshops that address common challenges experienced by underrepresented students and to provide strategies and resources to support your academic success. To meet our mission, I really wanted to bring in Victoria. I've attended her previous sessions on financing, and I feel like you're gonna be able to gain a lot of useful tools to be able to budget and to learn more about this.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started then now that everything's covered. So this is budgeting for beginners. So first, a land acknowledgement. So the land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Waswa speaking UP tribe. The Ama Mutsun tribal band, comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken to Mission Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. So today's agenda, we are going to do some budgeting activities along with giving you some information, some resources, and some tips. So we're going to cover a lot today. So first, what is a budget and why do we do it? So a budget is just a plan for your money, plain and simple. It can be super in-depth. You can budget down to the penny if you want to, or you can just keep a general tally in your head of how much money you have to spend each month and what you want to spend that money on or what it's supposed to be spent on. Budgeting is unique for every person. Everybody's a little bit different. So you don't have to sit down and look through every transaction once a month if you don't want to. If the way of budgeting that you were possibly taught or that you've heard of doesn't work for your lifestyle, you won't do it. So we're going to cover some different ways to budget that may fit your lifestyle. Since it is a blueprint for your money, it can help you find any leaks in your spending. Now, maybe you have an automatic subscription payment that you didn't notice was coming out of your bank account every month. Maybe you're spending more on housing that you plan to after all your bills add up. You know, these things happen. So once you find these leaks, it's easier for you to control them or figure out solutions to make it work for you. Budgeting can also give you peace of mind when spending money. Instead of being scared to check your bank account, you can feel comfortable knowing that you're following your plan and you won't run out of money this month. Also, you can use your budget to plan for irregular expenses like surprise bills, annual parking permit payments if you keep your car on campus, or other things that you don't pay often. It can also help you reach your financial goals. So maybe your goal is to get in the habit of saving $5 a month. Maybe it is to save up for a deposit on an apartment, or maybe it's just to not spend as much money on takeout as you normally do. Making a plan for every dollar can help you figure out what dollars you can readjust or move around to fit your needs and your goals. Finally, budgeting is the first step in having a healthy money relationship. You'll have a relationship with money your whole entire life, so it's important to start building a healthy one now. Taking control of your money and being comfortable with what flows in and what flows out can set you on the right path. So setting up a budget. There are a couple of ways to set up a budget, but either way, you're going to need to identify your income, which is the money that you have coming in. And you'll also need to identify your expenses, which is the money that goes out. So income includes anything like financial aid, CalFresh, any money you make from your job, if you have unemployment income, money you receive as a gift, all of that you include in your budget. You want to get all of the big picture stuff. Expenses include anything you pay for. So food, housing, subscriptions, medical expenses, school costs, anything. If you like to go buy Pokemon cards or spend money on games in an app, I mean, those count too. Everything that you spend should be included. Now, two simple ways to set up your budget are what's called the top-down and the bottom-up methods. So in the top-down method, you use estimates of what you want to spend on expenses based on your total income. So for example, if you make $2,000 a month, you may want to only limit yourself to spending $1,000 a month on housing. Now, once you have an estimated cost, you then find something that fits into that estimate. So you would only look at apartments where you could rent a room for $1,000 or less. In the bottom up method, you do exactly the opposite. Instead of giving yourself an estimated cost and finding something that fits in that estimate, you base your budget on what you already spend. So if you already spend $700 a month on your room in your apartment, that's what you're going to try and stick to within your budget in the future. And that's what you write down when you're tallying up all your numbers for your budget. The top-down method may be easier for you if you don't already track what you spend or are new to paying for major expenses like housing and food on your own. The bottom-up is probably easier for you if you've already established that, if you already have a car payment, if you already have rent that you pay every month, those sorts of things. Might be hard for you to change that right now if you're already in the middle of a lease. So doing the bottom up like that can help make sure that you plug any of those spending leaks and make sure that we have income to cover all your expenses. So here are some categories to think about when building your budget. Now, some of these may be necessities or needs for you. Some others may be wants. Everyone has different needs and wants, so it's okay if what you classify as a need, others say is a want. For example, if you love to work out and you need a gym membership, cool, put that in your needs. Somebody else may not prioritize that. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to prioritize what's important to you in life. Again, if you don't like what you're doing with your budget, if you don't like your budget, you're not going to stick to it. So it's important to be honest with yourself. So let's look at a very basic budget breakdown. So you may have multiple budgets, a yearly budget, that's pretty general, a quarterly budget to look at school costs, a monthly budget to look at most of your expenses in detail. And depending on how much you like looking at the stuff, you may even have a weekly budget if you want. You may also have a budget based on time periods when you get paid. So for example, if you get paid biweekly, you may want a budget for every 2 weeks. It really is, again, up to you and what works best for your lifestyle. So here's an annual budget sample that's based on school costs. It's broken down into quarters to make the math easy, but the full year is on the right side. So you can see in very basic terms what's spent. And then here's a similar example, but this is a quarterly budget. So like the annual budget, it's broken down into smaller chunks to make it easier to keep track of, but the quarter totals are on the right side. So you can see this goes a little bit more in depth, breaks it down just a tiny bit more, but it's still digestible. Now, there are some general recommendations to think about when building your budget. Now, these are very, very general, and they may not work for everyone depending on cost of living in the area and your income that may be limited due to being in school. And there are other factors that can affect this. So if you can't fit your budget into these perfect little numbers, that's okay. First, budget from your take-home pay in most cases. Now, this is the money that actually ends up in your bank account. So don't count any dollar of income that goes toward taxes or other items, which are called withholdings, before that money actually gets to you to use. For example, if you technically make $2,000, but after taxes and maybe health insurance comes out, your direct deposit only amounts to $1,800, you want to budget using that $1,800 because that's the real money that you have to spend. The $2,000 you make on paper is called your gross income, and the money you receive after withholdings, the money you can actually spend on things, is called net income. Now, the most general and popular budget is what's called the 50-30-20 budget. This uses percentages to break down recommended spending. So you take 50% of your take-home budget, take-home pay, and put that towards your needs like housing and food. Again, your needs may be different than anybody else's, but 50% should go towards needs. Then 30% goes towards wants like takeout, video games, anything else in your lifestyle that you don't necessarily have to have. 20% goes to savings and paying down any debt. And when I say debt, this doesn't necessarily mean student loans or anything. It means like credit card debt, anything that you probably owe monthly on now. If you have savings already and you want to pay down stuff like student loan debt, great. But if you don't have any debt that you owe monthly on right now, or that you have to pay back right now while you're in school, prioritize savings if you can over paying off debt. That said, I know that savings may not be something that's something that everybody can do right now, especially in school when we're in Santa Cruz. Living is expensive. So if you don't have the money to save right now, that's okay. Make sure that your needs are covered first. That's what's most important. Another guideline is that housing should be less than 30% of your total income, again, your gross income. This is really the only guideline that doesn't use take-home pay and instead uses your whole income. Why? Because housing is super expensive. Now, in Santa Cruz, we have a super high cost of living, so even that 30% is just about impossible to live by. Again, that's okay. You can adjust your other categories as needed to make the numbers work for you. Okay, so some other things to keep in mind when creating your budget. First, make sure to include everything. It's totally normal to forget about some expenses or some income when you're first setting up your budget. Just keep an eye on your transactions for a few weeks to catch anything you missed. Also, your expenses should be less than your income. If not, that means that you're spending more than you bring in, which can lead to a cycle of debt or other consequences. If you have this problem, which a lot of students do, it's not uncommon. Again, you don't have a lot of time to be making money. School and life in Santa Cruz is expensive. It happens. So if you have this problem, you can always set up an individual coaching session with me, and we can work out ways to save yourself money or increase your income. Also, be sure to include categories for your hobbies. If you like to get takeout, or maybe you love working out to the Peloton app, reflect that in your budget. It's okay to prioritize things that other people don't prioritize. Your budget's unique to you, and I'm going to keep saying this, but if it doesn't match your lifestyle, it won't be useful to you. And we want this to be useful. Try and keep your budget as simple as possible. If you want to lump a car payment, insurance, gas, and bus pass into one category called transportation just to make it easy on you, that's fine. Just try and give yourself a realistic budget for that category. And once a month, or as often as you like it, as often as works for you, do a quick check to make sure you're spending within your budget. Are you going over? Are you spending more than you thought in a category? What isn't matching up? This is where you find those spending leaks and those patterns that you may want to change. And rework your budget as needed. One monthly budget isn't going to be accurate for you throughout the whole year. Holiday spending, travel when we're not in a pandemic, school expenses, all these things that they all pop up at different points in time. And some of these things you may not remember until the last moment. It happens. So you can adjust your budget each month to what you realistically need or want to spend. And it's also okay to change your priorities. Maybe you create a budget during this and you prioritize something, and after a couple months, you're like, you know what? I don't feel good putting money towards that category. I'd rather put my money towards something else. That's fine. This budget, again, is for you. It needs to change with how you change, so it can support you and you can have a healthy money relationship. Okay, so activity time. So when you filled out the registration form, you were added to a Google Calendar invite that had a spreadsheet link. Now, if you don't have that on hand, I'm going to see. Thanks, Yesenia. Okay, so Yesenia actually put it in the chat. So this is a Google Doc with a spreadsheet. So you can make a copy, download it for yourself. So you're not all trying to put the same numbers in on the same spreadsheet, but take about 10 minutes, try and fill out these budget worksheets. There's a quarterly and monthly budget. There's also a daily spending tracker that you can use to find those unexpected expenses and keep track of your spending. So try and fill out as much as you can. A little bit of it is already filled out for you. It's okay if you're guesstimating. It's okay if you can't do it all right now offhand. totally fine. This is just to introduce you to the technique, introduce you to a budget sheet. And if you hate this sheet, we will talk about other ways to budget. So don't worry too much. So we'll reconvene at 3:30. If you need to take a break right now, now's a great time to take a break. I am going to stop recording as well, and I'm going to play a little bit of music. And I'm also going to pause sharing. Awesome. Okay, so it seems like we all did pretty good with that. Again, if anybody ever has any issues or wants me to like personally walk them through that, we can always set up an individual coaching appointment, but it sounds like everybody had a fairly easy time. Okay, so maybe you didn't like that budget sheet. There are lots of other options. So again, budgeting needs to match your personality and lifestyle, or you're not going to do it. And yeah, not going to be good. So there's lots of different types of budgeting. I'm going to cover a few different ones. However, there's more than this. So find one that works for you. Again, if you don't know where to start, that's what I'm here for. I can help. So an envelope method is an all cash method. So if you like handling cash, if you maybe have a problem where you just swipe your card and don't think about it, this may be something that works well for you. So in an envelope method, you separate cash into envelopes that are specifically for certain categories. So for example, you may have an envelope for takeout, you may have an envelope for clothes shopping, for toiletries, based on your budget. So you spend the cash as you would. Once the cash from that envelope's gone, you're done spending in that category. Now, of course, if an emergency happens and you need to take from another envelope, just be honest with yourself. Sometimes things happen. If you have any money left at the end of the period, that money can go into savings because that's extra money from your budget. Or if you're saving up for something big, you can keep it in that envelope to spend on a larger purchase within that category. You Need a Budget is an online software. It's basically like a version of Excel where they do all the work for you and it's a little bit prettier. So there's a bunch of reports. You can link all your bank accounts, credit cards. If you have a car loan or something, you can put that in. Pretty user-friendly. And it works well with multiple cash flows. So for example, if you get a refund from financial aid every quarter, plus maybe you have a job, it can handle all the different cash flows, all the money that's flowing in at a regular time periods. And like I said, it does a lot of the work for you. So it does a lot of the math behind the scenes. The Excel kind of is set up for that, but You Need a Budget is a lot more in-depth. It is free for 1 year for students, which is great to at least get your feet wet, see if you like it. After that, it is kind of expensive. It's about $80 a year. Students do get a 10% discount on that, but at the same time, I mean, if you don't want to spend your money on that, there are a bunch of options that are free. So, and if you use it for a year and you like it, you can model something on Excel that's similar, again, for free. So that's just an option to kind of get you in that headspace. Okay, and here's some more. So Mint, you probably have heard of Mint. It's from the same people who own TurboTax, Intuit. So Mint is another online software. This one is completely free. It's never going to ask you for any money. It connects all your bank accounts similar to You Need a Budget. It's super easy to set up and use. However, the one caveat is a lot of banks are now not allowing Mint to link to their accounts. I don't know why Mint in particular, but that has been an issue. So you can, of course, try it. You can also manually enter stuff if you want to, but it may not be super useful for you if you have to do all the work and you can't see everything. So just keep that in mind. Excel is what we just used, so free to use. It does all the calculations for you. However, to do those calculations, you do have to set up all the stuff on the backside, and you do have to manually input all your transactions. Excel and Google Sheets has this really cool feature where you can link your Google Sheet to a Google form. So I've seen a budgeting setup where somebody created a Google form, and every time they spent money, they put that into the Google form and answered a couple of questions, and then that automatically moved over to the Google Sheet and did all that stuff for them. So something like that is an option for you. Again, it's free, but it could take a lot of time to get that all set up. So depends on what you want to do. Now, a budget binder is another manual option. This is similar to the envelope method. However, it is a lot more in depth. So what normally happens in a budget binder is you keep track of every single transaction. Most people use a calendar of some sort. So again, if you want to use just a monthly overview, or maybe you want to break it down by week, it's up to you and your schedule, what works for you. But it is the most in-depth look at your budget because you do have a lot of space to break things down. So those, again, are some different options. There are tons more. I have more of them saved if anybody ever needs any. Pinterest is a great place to look for innovative ones and unique ones. I mean, there are a million ways to budget. Again, it's what works for you. Okay, so now we're going to get into some resources. So this first slide is all on-campus related resources. So these are all things that you all have access to. Now, a couple of the food pantries are not open because of COVID-19, but hopefully as we start moving to some sort of a new normal, they will slowly start to reopen. However, the Slug Support and Cow Coffee Shop food pantries are currently open and operating. So if you're on campus or near campus, those are running. During a normal time period, SUA, the Undergraduate Association, does have a food pantry. The Ethnic Resource Centers have a snack pantry, which is great. The Kintu Queer Center in particular has a full food pantry. There's also a mobile food hub. So if you're new, maybe you've been in Zoom University at UCSC for your whole time here, there are a lot of food pantries on campus for you. So if you're living off campus and you don't have the money for groceries, or you need something and CalFresh doesn't cover it, these are great resources. TAPS is another great resource. So that is the transportation center on campus. So they do a lot of bike workshops. They have a bike lending program, which is great. And they also have a setup with the buses to where all students have free bus passes. So you can go all around Santa Cruz for free on the bus. So if you don't have a car, don't have a friend with a car, don't want to take a bike everywhere, which with those hills, I don't blame you. You can take the bus and it's a great opportunity. Slug Support, a lot of these you probably all have heard of, but hopefully I'll share some new information. But Slug Support can give monetary aid if you are struggling to meet rent, if you're struggling to, let's say, afford a laptop, if you need a laptop for school. They have a laptop lending program. They can help you if you need money for food or whatever you need for necessities. They can help bridge the gap between what you need. They can help you get there. So they are a great resource for monetary aid if you need it. Community housing is the housing office on campus. So they have a lot of options for people who are looking for off-campus housing. They have a lot of renters' rights information to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of, to make sure that, for example, if you gave an apartment a deposit and they take the whole thing, that's not normal. Unless you completely trash your apartment, which I don't think anybody would do. But anyway, so they can be super helpful with that. They also keep a online directory of apartments that you have to register to post an apartment. So you aren't going to get scammed. It's a little bit safer than using Craigslist or something. And that directory is targeted for UCSC students. So you know that whoever has that apartment is looking for UCSC students. So it's a great resource. CAPS is another one. Mental health is super, super, super important. So CAPS free resources, they may not be a permanent therapy option for you. However, they can connect you with what you need, connect you with the resources on and off campus to get you that assistance. Disability Resource Center can help you, for example, if you need extra test taking time, if you're struggling in courses, they can be super helpful. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. They are awesome. Also, the resource centers, super great. they all put on amazing programs. They all have great offerings for all students. For example, the Cantu Center has that food pantry. I mean, I believe at least one of them has a toiletry pantry, I actually think, which is probably closed right now because of COVID, but they have a lot of great things for students. So don't be afraid to check them out, and take advantage, because that is there for you to learn and to use. So they're great. Financial aid. So if you ever have questions about scholarships, if maybe you need some more aid to meet your needs, if you need to appeal your financial aid decision, if something happens, something in your life has changed, if you need to talk about becoming financially independent for the FAFSA, that is all stuff that financial aid can talk with you about. They are an amazing resource. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. When it comes to the FAFSA and stuff that relates to what aid you qualify for, they are the people to go to. So I can help you a little bit, but they are definitely the people to go to for that. Now, Student Business Services and SlugCents, which is me, we can help with everything after financial aid has been awarded. So when you're having questions about getting your refund, when you're having questions about how to understand your bill, if you're having questions about paying your bill, I mean, these are all questions for Student Business Services. We have a great team, and they can make sure that you get your questions answered. And then SlugCents is here for anything beyond that umbrella of billing. So any personal finance topic, if you have questions, I'm here for you. Information is going to be on the last page, but we have an email, we have a web page, we have social media. So you can reach out to us on any of the above, and we will help you. If you have questions, we'll answer them. If you need resources, we'll find them. We'll give you referrals if you need it. So we're here for you. And also follow us, because we put on workshops like this one, and that's how you'll know about it. And then EOP services, of course, I would hope you are all familiar with EOP services and all the great things that they do for you students. I mean, the textbook lending library, so many other things. Like the textbook lending library is like my favorite thing ever that EOP offers. I think it's such a great program. But yeah, just take advantage while you're here. Use those resources. This is what they're there for. They're there for you and to support you as a student to make sure that you're successful. We're all here to help you. This is what we want to do. Yesenia, raise your hand. Did you want to say some more about EOP? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, yes, the textbook lending library is a great resource to use. There's always an opportunity to appeal if you're not in it. They help you obtain your textbook. So that's a cost that's lowered once they help you out with that. And I also wanted to plug the wellness program. If you are an EOP student, I'll put the link here. They award people quarterly wellness awards if you apply to it. And these awards are for people who demonstrate financial hardship, and it's like to get you active. I've heard of people who have gotten different types of awards, such as like a bike. I know I applied to it and I got workout gear too. So this is a great way to access stuff that can get you active.
Yes, definitely. Great. I know I was like, there's another great program and I blanked. Yes. I saw that, like, if you're wanting to go, like, for example, hiking or camping or something, they will even pay for your gear. Or if you're wanting to do like a school funded or a school led activity, like a kayaking trip, for example. I don't know all of them because we're in COVID, but they will pay for your spot on that trip. So definitely a great program. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. And then there are a couple other resources on here that I don't have listed. The library is an amazing one. So the library not only has books, but they also have movies, audio. So they have CDs. I believe they also have like an online ebook sharing website that you have access to. They also have film equipment, audio equipment. They have like a podcast room if you want to start a podcast. They have like a viewing room if you want to like view your projects that you've made, and they have such great resources. They are currently closed. That all is currently closed because of COVID, but hopefully in the future, that's something that you can use. Also, ITS. So ITS partners with Slug Support to do the laptop lending program. They also offer free software to students. So for example, the whole Adobe Creative Cloud you have for free as a student here. So there is a link on the ITS website on how to get that. But yeah, that stuff is normally expensive. So if you are interested in learning it or using it, now is the time because it is free. Okay, and then these are some off-campus and online resources. So Honey, you may have heard of Honey. They are an automatic coupon and cashback software. So there's plugins for example, Google Chrome, and it will automatically apply a bunch of coupons for you. And if it can't find a coupon for you, it normally will offer you cashback instead. I've personally used this, so I can vouch for it. It's real, it works, it's awesome. Student Beans and Unidays are two student discount sites. All you have to do is log in with your student email. They may ask you to upload like a picture of your student ID just to prove that you're a student. And then you have access to thousands of discounts. It's mostly clothing, but they also have a lot of other stuff. For example, there are some travel discounts. There's like audio, like headphones and stuff. There's a bunch of different discounts. So if you like to shop, that is a great spot. Okay, thought I saw something in the chat. We're good. Student Universe is student travel discounts. So flights, they also have other travel, which again, I know we're in a pandemic, but hopefully in the future, this will be useful for you. Again, I personally use them. They saved me personally like over $200 on a flight once. And I was like, okay, cool. The thing is their customer service can be a little difficult to get in contact with. Since they are a third party, if you're not for sure that you're going to need this flight, or if you think you might change the dates or something, they may not be who you want to go through, just because as a third party, it can be a little bit difficult to change your flight or cancel your flight, get that flight credit sort of thing. So that's the only thing that I will say. Make sure 100% that you're taking the flight that you're going to take, or you're participating in the travel that you're going to participate in, so you don't have that headache later on. But otherwise, they have great discounts, and it's with real airlines like American Airlines and all those other ones. Like you're not going to be like on a 10-seater plane. So Salvation Army has a farmer's market in town. So if you're living off campus and you can't get to the food pantries on campus, especially with COVID, this is a great one to look into. So they have a great farmers market program. And if you are enrolled in CalFresh, which a lot of students qualify, so if you're not, it's a great time to see if you qualify for. Again, most students do. There are a few different qualifiers for students. For example, if you have the Cal Grant, if you work 20 hours a week, and then there are some other ones, but those are the most basic ones that most people qualify under. CalFresh gives you almost $200 worth of EBT per month, which can be used on groceries, basically can be used on any food except for fresh, hot prepared food, and it just can't be used on alcohol and tobacco. So CalFresh is a great option. If you're not already signed up for it, look into it. It's loaded onto a debit card, easy peasy to use. At the farmers markets in town, they have something called a market match. So for example, instead of spending $10 at the farmers market, if you use the CalFresh, you actually get an double. So if you go to get $10, you'll get $20 in tokens to use. So it is a great program. So take advantage of that as well. Then there's a community food hotline. So the phone number is on there. So if you don't know where your next meal is going to be coming from, if you don't have the funds to get a meal, you can call this number and they will provide you resources in your area where you can find free or low cost food. They will make sure that you are fed. Pleasure Pizza is a great one. If you love takeout, this gives you a great way to feel like you're getting takeout without spending a bunch of money. On Tuesdays, they do $1 slices. So keep an eye out for that. Again, when we're on campus. Walnut Avenue Women's Center. It's not just for women. They provide shelter, food, clothing. Again, make sure that your basic needs are met. So again, if you're ever in a situation where you don't know where your next meal is coming from, where you don't have a place to stay, Walnut Avenue Women's Center in town is a great resource. They don't turn anybody away. They're great. There are also a lot of Facebook groups for Santa Cruz. So for example, there's a buy sell page, there's a housing page, and I know there's a couple others. So this is a great way to connect with other community members and get stuff for cheap or even sometimes free, and make some money if you're selling some stuff. It's a great way to get in touch with everyone and do that. Findhelp.org is another great website. So what this is, it's commonly known as Aunt Bertha. You might have heard of that before, but they've rebranded as findhelp.org. What this is you plug in your zip code and you plug in what type of need that you're looking for. So for example, are you looking for food? Are you looking for shelter? Do you need money? Is it related to healthcare? There's a lot of different options, and you also don't have to select an option if you don't know what you're looking for. And they will show you everything in the area that can meet your needs. They do have LGBTQIA friendly resources. They have like reviews on the website. They can connect you with like maps and transportation. They are great. So if you're ever not sure what's in the area, if you're not in Santa Cruz right now, this is an awesome website. So some other tips. Final slide. You've all hung in so well. Thanks so much. So first, it's okay to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes on their budget. It's okay. It's okay if you spend more than you mean to at first. You know, this is new for you. It's going to take some time to get used to. This doesn't happen overnight. It's okay. I just always tell people that, like, don't worry, don't stress yourself out. Don't think that just because you made a mistake that you can't do this, or I don't know, but it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to go over. It's okay if you're not perfect 100% of the time. And it's okay if you have a great thing going and then you accidentally spend a little too much one month. Just get back on that train. It's okay. Also, that resource list, I know there was a lot on there, but that's not exhaustive. There are so many resources to help you on campus and off. If I listed all the on-campus resources, I could speak for an hour about all of them. UCSC has so many resources for students, and same with off-campus. Santa Cruz is a great community. They have a lot of resources. They love UCSC students. So there's a lot here, and it's okay if you need help finding them. Again, this is what I'm here for: slug support, CAPS. I mean, there's so many people on this campus who will help you find the resources to meet your needs. Also, life happens. So adjust your budget as it does. For example, maybe you need to buy a car because you have to work off campus and the bus system doesn't work for you. Maybe you have to move into a more expensive apartment because you can't find something that's safe within the budget that you had already set for yourself. Life happens. Again, if your income doesn't cover all your expenses, talk to me. We will figure out how to bridge that gap, whether it's help from slug support, whether it's finding scholarships and grants that you may qualify for, whether it's finding ways to shave some money off of your expenses. We will do it together. You're not alone. Also, a budget is not the end all be all of a healthy money relationship. If you hate budgeting, it's okay to admit that. You know, everybody's different. I'll say that. It's okay if you hate budgeting. It's okay if you hated this presentation and you never want to talk about budgeting again. There are other ways to have a healthy money relationship. You know, I'm not going to try and force this on everybody because everybody's a little bit different. That being said, you still need to make sure that you have a healthy money relationship in other ways. So instead of budgeting, sub that out for another way to kind of be honest with yourself about money, keep track of what's going on with your relationship with money. Okay, there are other ways to do that without budgeting. That being said, a budget is great for most people, especially if this is your first time talking about a money relationship. So give it a try, even if you don't think you're gonna like it. Also, many banks and credit unions that have online banking, which nowadays is most of them, have a budgeting tool built in. Now, whether or not this is good, is a good tool, that's another story, but it doesn't hurt to look at your online banking and see. For example, Bay Federal Credit Union, they have a great one. If you have an account there, it's under the money management section. You can set up budgets, you can get emails and texts when you're about to go over, you can manually change transactions. And a lot of banks and credit unions have the same sort of tools. So it doesn't hurt to look into it. Save yourself some time. If it's all within your bank account already, you don't have to move transactions over to another app or Excel sheet or anything. So let me do the work for you. Also, it's okay if this isn't easy. I'll say it again. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay if this is hard. It's okay if you've never done this before and you're learning. Many people are not taught how to do this. A lot of people do not know how to budget. That's okay. This is why we're here. This is why SlugCents is here. You aren't alone. We can help you. And it's okay if you were here in this presentation and I said something and it didn't make sense and now you're lost. That's okay too. It can take some time. Not everybody learns in the same learning style. So again, this is why we have individual coaching. This is why we have different style workshops to make sure that you get the resources and help that you need. So please never feel uncomfortable reaching out to me if you need something. Okay, and with all that, thank you for joining us. So our student business service website is sbs.ucsc.edu. EOP's website is eop.ucsc.edu. Also follow us on social media if you don't mind, UCSC SlugCents on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We do use Instagram the most. That's where we post workshops. April is actually Financial Literacy Month. So we actually have 2 contests running, or challenges. They're not really contests. We have 2 challenges running on our Instagram page to raffle off gift cards. We are giving away 4 $25 gift cards to Target. All you have to do is do like an investing game that takes 10 minutes and post about it and you're entered to win. Or we have a partnership with a nonprofit where you just have to go and participate in a financial education module and you're entered to win.